Picture this. A woman is murdered in 1978, the case goes cold and the world moves on, leaving behind only whispers and rumors in the hallways of a forgotten apartment building. For decades, it's just another unsolved tragedy, a name in a file, a face on a faded poster, and a story that slowly slips from memory as the years pass by. But then, in the age of smartphones and social media, something extraordinary happens. Out of nowhere, hundreds of present-day social media chats surface, all discussing the murder in chilling detail. Details that only those close to the case could possibly know. These aren't wild Reddit theories or internet sleuths guessing in the dark, they're real conversations between people who actually knew the victim, friends and acquaintances who were there, revealing a conspiracy the police missed entirely. Suddenly, a crime that happened before the internet even existed is cracked open by digital evidence. Evidence that bridges the gap between past and present, connecting old secrets to new technology. The chats lay out motives, name names, and expose a plot buried for nearly half a century. They reveal hidden relationships, secret grudges, and the kind of details that only those closest to the truth could have known. It's a digital resurrection, forcing everyone from detectives to the victim's family to question what really happened to Elizabeth Andes and whether justice was ever truly served. For years, the story was simple. One suspect, a recanted confession, and a case that gathered dust in a police archive. The truth seemed lost to time, locked away with the evidence. But now, technology has rewritten the rules. Digital breadcrumbs, once invisible, have become the biggest break the case has ever seen, offering new hope for answers and accountability. The ghosts of 1978 are talking, and this time we're finally listening, determined to uncover the truth that's been waiting in the shadows for nearly 50 years. Elizabeth Andes was living the dream. Fresh college grad, bright future, small-town safety. Oxford, Ohio was the kind of place where people left their doors unlocked, until Elizabeth was found murdered in her apartment. She was bound, gagged, and stabbed with sewing shears. A brutal crime that shattered the town's sense of security. Her boyfriend, Bob Young, discovered the scene and instantly became the prime suspect. The police, desperate for answers, zeroed in on him, while the community reeled from the shock. Elizabeth wasn't just a victim. She was a daughter, a friend, a young woman with dreams. Her murder wasn't just a loss, it was a theft of a future, a story cut short. The crime scene became a tragic full stop on a life just beginning, and the questions left behind would haunt Oxford for decades. From the very beginning, the police zeroed in on Bob Young. He was Elizabeth's boyfriend, and in their eyes, that made him the prime suspect, almost by default. After all, he was the one who discovered her body. To investigators, that seemed too convenient, almost as if guilt was written all over him simply for being there. But what they saw as suspicious was really just shock and heartbreak. Instead of compassion, Bob was met with suspicion. Within hours, he was pulled into a relentless interrogation. No lawyer, no support, just mounting pressure. He was strapped to a polygraph, a tool notorious for its unreliability, and bombarded with questions until he broke down and confessed to something he didn't do. That confession, wrung out under duress, didn't fit the facts. Bob recanted almost immediately, desperate to set the record straight, but the confession was all the police needed. Investigators closed ranks. They stopped searching for other suspects, convinced they had solved the case. The investigation in their minds was over. Bob faced not one but two trials. Both times he was exonerated, found not guilty by juries who saw the holes in the case. Yet the police refused to reconsider their theory, clinging to their original narrative. The real tragedy is that this tunnel vision blinded them to other possibilities. Evidence that could have led to the real killer was ignored, and the case went cold for decades. The confession, no matter how flawed, became the foundation of the entire case. Facts and inconsistencies were brushed aside, and the investigation was built on shaky ground. For years, Bob Young lived under a cloud of suspicion, his life forever changed. Meanwhile, the real perpetrator, or perpetrators, remained at large, free from scrutiny. The case against Bob was always weak, but the police refused to let go. Their stubbornness left justice out of reach for Elizabeth and her family. The story of Elizabeth Andes became a haunting lesson, a cautionary tale about what happens when investigators stop searching for the truth. For decades, the truth stayed hidden. But eventually, advances in forensic science would force the case open again, offering a glimmer of hope that real answers might finally be found. While police obsessed over Bob Young, other leads slipped away, quietly fading into the background. The investigation, so focused on a single suspect, began to overlook crucial details and alternative possibilities that might have changed everything. Steve Green, a maintenance man with access to Elizabeth's apartment, had made her feel unsafe. She even left a note about him leaving her door unlocked. This note, a small but chilling piece of evidence, was a clear sign that Elizabeth felt threatened in her own home. Yet, Green's behavior was never fully investigated. Just days after the murder, Green abruptly moved to Las Vegas. He left behind questions and suspicions, but was never questioned again. His sudden departure so soon after the crime should have raised alarms, but instead, it was quietly ignored. Another overlooked figure was Elizabeth's boss, Robert Buzz Call. He spent the evening with her before she died, making him one of the last people to see her alive. Their relationship, both professional and personal, was never fully explored by investigators. Despite this, Call was quickly dismissed as a suspect. The police, eager to close in on Bob Young, failed to ask the hard questions or dig deeper into Call's alibi and possible motives. The mishandling didn't stop with people. Crucial evidence, including the murder weapon and potential DNA, was lost forever after a bizarre chain of custody. Items that could have provided answers were misplaced, mislabeled, or simply vanished. The loss of evidence erased any hope of using modern forensics to solve the crime. Decades later, the chance to apply new technology to old evidence was gone, leaving only questions and regret. The fixation on Bob Young let key suspects and evidence slip through the cracks. Investigators became blind to other possibilities, and the case grew colder with every missed opportunity. The investigation's failures weren't just mistakes, they were missed opportunities for justice. Each oversight, each lost lead, was a door closed on the truth. The real story was hidden in plain sight, ignored by those who should have seen it. The evidence was there, the suspects were there, but the will to look beyond the obvious was not. Decades later, the consequences of those errors would come back to haunt the case. The pain of unanswered questions lingered, casting a shadow over everyone involved. And so, the search for answers would have to start all over again, with new eyes, new hope, and a determination not to repeat the mistakes of the past. For years, the Elizabeth Andes case was frozen in time, lost evidence, fading memories, no way forward. DNA technology offered hope, but with key evidence gone, even science couldn't help. Then the digital age delivered an unexpected breakthrough: over 300 social media chats hidden in plain sight. These weren't old letters. They were modern conversations between people connected to the case. The chats revealed details never made public, exposing a web of secrets and motives. Digital forensics became the new detective, reconstructing relationships and timelines from online footprints. The case shifted from physical evidence to digital clues, breathing new life into a dead investigation. Technology didn't just help, it changed everything. The truth, it turned out, was waiting in the cloud, not in a dusty evidence locker. The digital world had become the ultimate witness, and the past was suddenly wide open. The recovered chats weren't random. They told a story of conspiracy, not a crime of passion. The messages revealed planning, motives, and a group effort to murder Elizabeth Andes. Jealousy, personal grievances, and social entanglements all played a role. The chats mapped out who did what, when, and why, far more complex than the police ever imagined. This wasn't a lone killer. It was a calculated execution by people she knew. The digital evidence allowed investigators to build a new, accurate timeline, one that didn't revolve around Bob Young. The casual tone of the chats was chilling. These were secrets kept for decades, now exposed by technology. The conspirators thought their words were private, but they became a permanent record. The case transformed from a simple whodunit to a web of betrayal and group complicity. And the real monsters were finally unmasked, not by confessions, but by their own digital footprints. The digital evidence cast Elizabeth's final weeks in a new light. Friends noticed she was anxious and withdrawn, signs once dismissed as graduation stress. Now they look like warnings. Elizabeth sensed danger, especially after the maintenance man left her door unlocked. Her note to the landlord reads like a cry for help, not just a complaint. She was navigating a toxic social circle, unaware of the deadly plot forming around her. Her anxiety was her intuition screaming that something was wrong. The chats validated her fears, reframing her last days as a time of escalating dread. Elizabeth wasn't just a random victim, she was targeted. Her story is a reminder that sometimes the signs are there, we just fail to see them, and it took decades and digital evidence to finally hear her warning. The chat logs didn't just add detail, they changed the entire cast of suspects. For years, Bob Young was the only focus, but now, new names emerged from Elizabeth's social circle. Steve Green, the maintenance man, and Robert Buzz Call, her boss, were suddenly central figures. The chats linked these individuals, revealing a group dynamic and shared grievances. Investigators could finally re-examine old alibis with fresh eyes. The digital evidence created a new suspect list, based on facts, not hunches. Bob Young was vindicated, but the case became a lesson in the dangers of tunnel vision. The challenge now, turn digital whispers into justice, and hold the real culprits accountable. The Elizabeth Andes case is more than a murder mystery, it's a lesson in how secrets survive and surface in the digital age. Social media chats, once thought fleeting, became the key to rewriting history. Technology turned cold cases into living puzzles, where the past is never truly gone. The digital breadcrumbs we leave can become a net for the guilty, and a voice for the silenced. The case exposes the failures of the original investigation, and the cost of closed minds. But it also offers hope, that truth can survive, waiting to be found in the code. Elizabeth's story isn't over. The digital whispers demand a final chapter of justice. Some secrets, it turns out, can't stay buried forever.